Level 1. The first order. You have heard about it. Not from anyone specific, from the internet, a forum post, a comment thread, someone describing a transaction that should be impossible, a package arriving at a regular address containing something that was never supposed to get through. You download Tor. You find a market. It looks like eBay. The layout is familiar. Products, listings, prices, seller ratings, customer reviews. Someone sold 4,200 units of something and has a 4.98 rating and 300 positive reviews. The reviews are specific. They mention packaging quality, delivery speed, whether the product was what it claimed to be. This is your first surprise. You expected chaos. What you found looks like a functioning marketplace with accountability. You browse for a long time without buying anything. Then you buy something small. You follow the instructions. You download a wallet. You convert cash to Bitcoin at a kiosk 3 blocks from your apartment. You paste an address. You wait. 8 days later, a padded envelope arrives. It looks like it came from a medical supply company. Inside, wrapped in layers of packaging you were not expecting, is exactly what the listing described. Nothing happened. Nobody knocked on your door. The package arrived like any other package. You sit with that for a while. The distance between what you assumed was true about how the world works and what you just experienced is larger than you expected. Level 2, the first listing. You are not the first person to have this thought. The math is obvious. You just paid for something. Someone else got paid for it. The transaction worked. The margin between what vendors charge and what product costs is significant. And the barrier to entry looks lower than you assumed. You spend 2 weeks reading forums, guides, vendor interviews, case studies of vendors who got caught. You learn what PGP encryption is. You learn why it matters. You generate a key pair and practice encrypting messages to yourself until it becomes automatic. You pay the vendor bond. On most established markets, this is between $150 and $500 in cryptocurrency, refundable on some platforms, non-refundable on others. It exists to filter out people who are not serious. You are serious. You write your first listing, one product, small quantities only. You price it slightly below market to attract buyers who will take a chance on a zero review vendor. Nobody buys for 11 days. Then someone does, a small order. You pack it carefully. You drive to a post office in a neighborhood that isn't yours. You pay cash. You use a return address that doesn't exist. You wait. The buyer leaves a review, 5 stars, mentions the packaging, says they would buy again. You read the review 4 times. Level 3, the reputation grind. Reviews are the only thing that matters at this stage. You have no history, no trust, no reason for a stranger to choose you over a vendor with 500 completed orders. The only way to fix that is to complete orders and collect reviews, which requires buyers who are willing to take a risk on someone new, which requires you to give them a reason. You offer discounts, 10% off first orders, free samples with purchases above a certain amount. You respond to every message within hours. You resolve every dispute immediately, even when the buyer is probably lying. You pack each order like it is the most important thing you have ever mailed. You research the postal inspection process. You learn that dogs can detect scent through multiple layers of packaging. You buy vacuum seal bags. You buy Mylar. You buy odor blocking material used for industrial shipping. Your rating climbs 4.6, 4.8, 4.95. Each review is a small piece of infrastructure. You are building something. At 50 completed orders, buyers start finding you without discounts. At 100, you raise your prices slightly and the volume does not drop. At 200, you are a real vendor. You do not feel like a different person, but you have crossed a line that is not visible from the outside and cannot be uncrossed. Level 4, the operation. You need a supplier. What you were doing before was not sustainable. Sourcing product at retail or near retail margins, processing small quantities, packing everything yourself, it worked at low volume. It does not work now. You find a wholesale source. This is its own process with its own risks. The supplier does not know who you are. You do not know who they are. Every transaction is conducted through encrypted channels. Trust is built through completed orders the same way you built your own reputation, but in reverse. Product arrives in larger quantities now. You have a space for it. Not your home. You decided early that your home and your operation needed to stay separate. A storage unit, a secondary location, somewhere that is not connected to your name in any obvious way. You develop a packing routine. It takes 90 minutes per batch. You have a process for everything: how the product is weighed, how it is wrapped, how the address is printed, which post office it goes to, how you pay. The money is real now, more than you expected, more than your previous job paid, more than 2 previous jobs paid. You move it carefully. Small deposits, different accounts, cash for anything you can pay cash for. You tell yourself this is temporary, that you are building something for a specific period and then you will stop. Most vendors tell themselves this. Level 5, the OPSEC problem. You have been doing this long enough that it has stopped feeling dangerous. That is the problem. Operational security is not a set of rules you follow once. It is a set of habits you maintain under conditions that make maintenance difficult when you are tired, when you are distracted, when something is inconvenient and the risk feels abstract. You have started using the same post office twice in 1 week, not because you decided to, because it was closer. You have started using the same username you used years ago on a forum that has nothing to do with this, not connected in any obvious way, but connected. You took a photograph of a product to show a supplier what you needed. The photo is on your phone. Your phone has location data enabled. The metadata attached to the image contains a timestamp and coordinates that place you at your secondary location at a specific time on a specific date. You know about metadata. You read about it in the guides 2 years ago. You forgot. You have been corresponding with a regular buyer for months. The communications are encrypted, but the pattern of communication, the timing, the frequency, the rhythm is itself a form of information that does not require decryption to be useful. None of these things feel like mistakes in the moment they happen. Each one is a small convenience. Each one is a small exposure. Level 6, the supply chain. Your supplier has a supplier. You do not know this directly. You know it because of the quantities available to you and the consistency of the product and the speed at which your supplier can fulfill unusual requests. Someone below your supplier is producing or importing at a scale that is not retail. You are one node in a chain that extends in both directions and that you cannot see in either direction. Your buyers do not know who supplies you. Your supplier does not know who your buyers are. The structure is designed this way not because anyone sat down and designed it, but because compartmentalization is how every participant in the chain reduces their own exposure. The problem with a supply chain is that it is a supply chain. When something goes wrong somewhere else in it, when a package is intercepted at a port of entry, when a supplier's storage location is found, when a buyer at the other end of someone else's operation cooperates with investigators, the information that exists somewhere in that chain starts moving in directions that were not intended. You do not know when this happens. That is the nature of a compartmentalized structure. The compartments are not just keeping your information from other people. They are keeping other people's problems from reaching you until those problems have already arrived. Level 7, the multi-market operation. One market is not enough anymore. Markets go dark without warning. Alphabay went dark in 2017. Hansa went dark in 2017. Dream Market shut down in 2019. Each time a market disappears, vendors on that market lose their entire review history, their customer base, their standing, everything they built on that specific platform. You are on 3 markets now. The reviews are not transferable, so you maintained separate accounts on each one, building reputation simultaneously. The usernames are different, the PGP keys are different. The customers do not know they are buying from the same vendor. You use Monero now instead of Bitcoin. Bitcoin transactions are pseudonymous. They are traceable to addresses, even if those addresses are not immediately connected to a name. Monero is designed differently. The transaction amounts, the sending addresses, and the receiving addresses are all obscured by the protocol itself. You have someone who helps with packing. You did not hire them officially. You did not explain what the operation is. They know what it is. They help because the money is good and because they understand, without being told explicitly, that asking too many questions is not in their interest or yours. You think of this as a division of labor. It is also a second person who now knows something about you that could end your life as you know it. Level 8, the controlled buy. You do not know that the order placed 3 weeks ago was placed by a federal agent. The order looked normal, the message was correctly encrypted, the buyer's account had reviews. The purchase amount was not unusual, large enough to be a real customer, small enough to not raise questions. You processed it the way you process every order. You packed it, you mailed it from a location you rotated through, you confirmed shipment, the buyer confirmed receipt and left a 5-star review. That review is now an exhibit in a case file. The agent who placed the order has documentation of the transaction, they have the package, they have the contents, analyzed and confirmed. They have the shipping label, which was printed and applied in a specific way that has characteristics. They have the postal scan data showing where and when the package entered the mail stream. They are not moving yet. A single controlled buy establishes a transaction. They want a pattern. They place another order 2 weeks later. Different account, same vendor, different mailing location, but close enough to the first to indicate a geographic area. The file is building. You are filling it every time you fulfill an order. Level 9, the unraveling. It does not end the way you expected. You expected a dramatic event, agents at the door, a moment of confrontation, the specific scene you had imagined and then pushed out of your mind every time you imagined it. What actually happens is smaller. A market goes down. Investigators who gained access to the market's back-end data have vendor information, not necessarily names, but usernames, PGP keys, Bitcoin addresses, shipping patterns. They begin correlating. Your username on this market matches a username from a forum post 6 years ago. The forum post contains an email address. The email address is connected to a social media account that has not been active in years but was created with a phone number. The phone number is registered to you. Or a supplier gets arrested in another city, they are facing 15 years, and they have information about their buyers. They provide what they know. What they know about you is limited. A username, a cryptocurrency address, a communication pattern. It is enough to start. Or a postal inspector notices a pattern in packages from a specific geographic area. The packages have similar characteristics. The handwriting on the labels has been analyzed. DNA from the adhesive on the envelope flap has been collected. You made a mistake 18 months ago. You used your own saliva to seal an envelope because you were out of a sponge. You did not think about it again. Somebody is thinking about it now. Level 10, the common thread. Here is what connects every vendor who has been identified and prosecuted. At some point, in some way, their real identity and their operational identity touched. Not necessarily in an obvious place. Not necessarily in a way that felt like a mistake at the time. A username reused across platforms. A photograph posted without stripping metadata. A package mailed from a location connected to a daily routine. A cryptocurrency transaction that was one step shorter in the mixing process than it needed to be. An email address used during account setup that connected to a real name. The dark web provides anonymity as a technical default. It does not provide anonymity as a guarantee. The technical layer, Tor, PGP, Monero, encryption, handles the digital communications. It does not handle the moments when digital and physical intersect. Those moments are everywhere. Every package that enters the postal system is a physical object in the physical world. It has weight, it has smell, it has handling characteristics. It was touched by someone, somewhere, in some location. The location had cameras, the cameras had timestamps. Every cryptocurrency transaction, regardless of how it is mixed, begins somewhere and ends somewhere. Investigators work backward from both ends. Every operational security failure documented in federal prosecutions of darknet vendors was a moment when something physical crossed into something digital, or something digital crossed into something physical, and the connection between the two was traceable. The vendors who operated longest were not the ones who took the most precautions. They were the ones who took the most precautions consistently, under every condition, including the conditions that made precaution inconvenient. Consistency is the entire variable. Every failure documented across thousands of darknet prosecutions comes down to one moment when consistency broke. One envelope, one username, one email, one photo, one thing that touched both worlds at the same time.